Thank you so much, Riyad Inageja. I have so much on the table to deal with this morning, and I will take my time to go through them. Now, good morning, Nigerians, and welcome to FCT Brief. Now, as Nigeria steadily moves towards the 2027 general elections, the nation's political space is already witnessing intense realignment, internal debates, and growing questions about the strength and relevance of opposition politics. From internal party crises and defections to coalition talks and ideological rebranding, the road to 2027 is shaping up to be a defining moment for Nigeria's democracy. This morning, we turn our focus to the opposition, its capacity to provide credible alternatives, deepen democratic accountability, and reconnect with a citizenry increasingly demanding effective governance. Can Nigeria's opposition move beyond fragmentation and rhetoric to present a united, issue-driven platform capable of changing the status quo? And what lessons must be learned from past electoral cycles as political actors position themselves for the battle ahead? To help us unpack these critical issues, we are joined by Segun Sowunmi, convener The Alternative, a political advocate and strategist known for his outspoken views on party reforms and democratic engagement. He joins us to discuss the future of opposition politics in Nigeria and what lies ahead on the road to 2027. Stay with us. Now, Mr. Segun Sowunmi, nice to have you here this morning.
Yes, nice to be here.
All right.
How are you?
Let's go this way. Just yesterday, there was a ruling from the High Court sacking the Julius Abure leadership of the Labour Party and asking that Nana Usman should be recognized and that INEC should recognize Nana Usman's faction. And just a day before, Samuel Anyanwu, who was the former national secretary of the PDP, was also denied that what he went to the court to see. So the court did not recognize. Now, what does this say of our opposition parties? PDP is deep in crisis. The Labour Party is deep in crisis. And we just have barely a year to the 2027 almighty election.
Then you didn't complete that statement.
Okay.
APC is not deep in crisis.
Okay, APC is not deep in crisis. I'm supposed to come to that.
Now that you have said it,
okay,
does it even sound like the talk of a sensible person?
Exactly.
Exactly so. How is it that between 1999 till 2015, even till 2023, it appeared as if all alternative political parties were alive and unencumbered? And suddenly, the Democrat of all Democrats, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is sitting on the chair as president of Nigeria, and suddenly no other political party in Nigeria is alive or healthy or unencumbered apart from his own. Well, I want to say very clearly, nobody should play with democracy, and nobody should overrate himself as a tactician or strategist. The minimum requirement of democracy is that opposition parties must have the ability to also ventilate opinion and ideas, so that the Nigerian people will have the opportunity to make choices. That is a foundational statement I want to put, and I will advise whoever it is that is masquerading as a big man or manipulating the process either through the judiciary or through the coercive powers of the state to look in the mirror and remember very well, when you think you have won, that's when you begin to lose. You cannot run this democracy that we fought for at great cost in such a manner that we'll begin to now get the impression that a cacophony of mismanagement of the process is now suddenly giving the impression that only one party is alive and well, and every other party will not ventilate. That's that. Second thing I want to say very quickly so that you don't get...
Before you go into my question.
Yeah, before I go into your question is that the culture of party management in Nigeria is really come to a point where we need to review it. And if you are looking for who to blame, you have to go back to Olusegun Obasanjo and his friend Atiku Abubakar, who were the first people in this democracy, president and vice president. Had they understood, and more than Atiku Obasanjo, I'm only joining them together because they will have to carry the burden of what they both decided. The concept of saying that governors or presidents are leaders of the party, we have stretched it to its extreme, and we have seen that it's now no longer working. That's why you see that rather than have a collegiate leadership that would take possession of the soul, the ideology, the belief of a political party, you no longer have that. And so the people who are always struggling to get platforms, when they finally do get the platform, either as governors or as president, begin to manipulate the political party to resemble their image. There's nothing wrong with that, assuming they could have live governors and live presidency, so that the time it will be required to form what will be the ideal of a political party there. But unfortunately, they have only but 4 years or maximum 8 years. So you see that the principles by which political parties are organized has been changing rather too rapidly. And that's why you now see that they put all the parties you are talking about that seem to be encumbered by one crisis or the other. They are encumbered because of this idea that one person must win and win exclusively. And you cannot run a political party, not here, not in the world. So I would predict that if they succeed in this trajectory until what everybody suspects will be the outcome becomes the outcome, then they will have a country that is ungovernable immediately afterwards.
Okay. Let's go back to the question I asked you.
That's the question now, you've answered.
Let's go back to the question I asked you. Internal crisis in the parties.
Shall there be no smoke?
Internal crisis in the party,
yes.
Court battles. I remember when Julius Abure was recognized and he called for the opposition, those within his party, that he should join hands together with him to rebuild the party. I'm not sure Nenadi joined him. Now, Nenadi also has been recognized yesterday by the courts, and she has called on the opposition
Do you
within
know what
her
that
party.
really means?
Sorry, so the opposition within our party to join hands. What I'm asking is, at what point will the various political parties swallow their self-ego and realize that, look, we have a party to build, and stop all the court cases and say, look, let me bury my pride and work for the sustainability of my party?
At the point in time when those who are masquerading behind, who are manipulating the process behind, are mature enough to know that democracy cannot be run this way. So what I'm saying is...
Because don't you think because we keep suspecting that there are people masquerading?
Listen.
We're not dealing with the issue.
Mama, when you ask a question, let the guest answer.
Yeah, exactly.
Do not insist that...
I just want you to, I just want to clarify to you.
Do not insist that your preconceived opinion is the answer that the guest will give.
All.
Okay, thank you. What I'm saying to you is that we have been in this democracy since 1999, and never in the history of this country have we had it this way with opposition parties. And the human beings that are playing in the opposition parties were not reinvented. Why is it that it is under the watch of a Democrat that suddenly every other party in opposition seems to be having this kind of problem? There has to be a nexus to it. And I don't have the patience for, powdering over the issue. Mine is that I've said to you, one of the things that created that opportunity is that this idea that a governor is the leader of the party is at the heart of that concept of one man wanting to win and own it all. Because they are creating political parties in their image instead of creating it according to a collegiate, which will help them to form and stabilize their ideological underpinning. Having said that, you must know that when elections are coming, everybody starts to throw in everything they know how to throw in to get the platform, so to speak. Because of an imagination that once you get the platform, automatically you get the ticket. Once you get the ticket, then the people are stupid enough just to vote for you. Never mind the fact that you may not have prepared yourself for victory. So all in all, what we are saying is that all of us in the country who believe in democracy must be worried now. And our worry must stem from the fact that this is not right. It doesn't look right. It cannot be right. I wrote a piece to the President of the Court of Appeal at the beginning of the year where I passionately begged that she should use her office to hurry those cases up in the Court of Appeal. Because whatever you are doing at, trial cases like High Court and all that, it's not going to help us. They will still go to Court of Appeal. Then they will go to the Supreme Court. If we are not careful, they're going to be in court until the whole process becomes a bit of a fait accompli. So really, we need to consolidate. Whoever is in charge of the country needs to say to himself that, look, this is not even telling good on the country.
Okay.
We have too many issues in the nation that you cannot converse and discuss within one political party.
All right, I agree with you. There's so many things that you can't convert within one political party. Now, is it difficult for the different political parties to redefine themselves? Like you said, you pointed out initially and said the Obasanjo-Atiku administration, they probably did not lay a good foundation. Now,
No, they're not about funding. The error they made
in the leadership of the party.
Let me help you so that you get it, and your audience can get it. The error they made is to give the impression
exactly. That's what
that
I'm saying.
A
Listen to
governor
my question.
or a president is the leader of the party.
That is what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying. That was the mistake they made. That was in PDP. Now, is it not difficult for other political parties to redefine themselves? Must they follow the pattern of the PDP? That's the question I'm asking you.
I have a very strong feeling that by the time we're done with 2027, whatever the outcome of 2027, we would have come to the rationalization that it's no longer working this way. People are interpreting the management of political party as if it's a 100 meters race. My view is the long-term play. It's really a marathon. So now they're at the point where everybody is thinking this is what is the right way. Hopefully some of them will be punished by not being able to produce candidates, because that's what will happen if they don't get out of court on time. Hopefully some of them will come out of court and it will be so late they won't have enough time to be able to interrogate the people. And hopefully the person who wants to make the country appear as if only the president's party work will probably now see the consequences of the amalgamation of all forces against an outcome that may not necessarily be false, but will look false. What am I saying? I'm saying that if you follow this trajectory and the APC and the president wins, he's going to contend with how to manage the country post, because it will now become clear. Everybody will now insist, it may be a lie, but they will then insist that the only reason why they could not participate and legitimately present themselves to the electorate to take a decision on them would be because somebody had manipulated
Mr. Let's face the facts on the table. The fact on the table is that in 2027 is going to be a contest here. Different political parties are going to play the game, and every party wants to win. Whether you are the APC, you are the PDP, you are the Labour Party, every party wants to win. That's the whole essence, yes. And every party takes steps to outsmart each other. Now, one question I'm asking now is, do you think, like you said, that after 2027, a lot of things will reshape itself? Do you think these present political parties will recover even after 2027, or we need a whole set of the different
Let me tell you what you are not seeing. There are four publics in this conversation, if you like. There are the political parties themselves. There are the extremely uninterested bystanders, those who have given up. Then there are the rabble-rousers who will be easily manipulated to say, this is not working, we don't agree. And then there are the political manipulators with their foreign collaborators. All this, the three other publics, if they don't have the ability to ventilate their agendas in parties because of legal manipulations and all of that, what you're going to have is that they are going to torpedo the one that will win. Okay, Shabu, just hold your thoughts there. Let's quickly go on a break. And when we come back, parties can redefine themselves along on the path to 2027 election. Shabu, let's look at this other issue. I started by talking about the court ruling concerning Labour Party. And the Nana Usman faction that has just been recognized by the High Court was actually prompted up by the 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi. But along the line, Peter Obi left the party. And now the party, the faction he brought up to help stabilize the Labour Party has been recognized. Now, would you say that he probably jumped ship too early, or there's a game, he probably jumped ship too early? And what does that speak of our politicians defecting from one party to the other? Do we lack the patience to see through what we want to establish, or we're too much in a hurry? You know, when the hunter changes his style, the bird too will have to change his style. What I think you're talking about the Justice Lifu judgment on the Abure Nanadi Usman. But that's a high court. You can almost tell that they're going to go to the Court of Appeal on that again. They're going to go to the Supreme Court. So it's very dangerous for us to say that a matter that is still in motion is settled. I do not know how the cookie is going to crumble and what side is going to fall. But for now, let us just say that they are the lower courts. The interpretation of that court, from what I hear, is that the court is saying that the Supreme Court has said they cannot interfere. And it's by extension saying the tenure of Abure has finished. I know that by the time they go to the Court of Appeal and go to the Supreme Court again, maybe they will agree that they have to settle that issue. It's particularly painful for Labour Party from the point of view of an outsider, because I think that that's the one party that can easily capture his ideological underpinning around labor, workers, welfareism. And his ideology is similar to all other labor parties in the world. Why is the one in Nigeria beginning to look this way? That said. And then the question of whether Peter is jumping about. Peter is quite an indisciplined politician, in my opinion. Everything he wants to do it via not so straight ways. If he had stayed in ABGA over these years, perhaps the groundswell he's built, he would have still built it there. If he had stayed in PDP, perhaps the groundswell he has, he will still build it there. If he had stayed in his Labour Party with his 6 million votes, perhaps the groundswell he will give it there. Now he's gone to the ADC, and I can hear a lot of rumors about him wanting to get a ticket without going through the process of a primary. And probably now that Labour Party is back, it's up to him. A man can decide to confuse himself by jumping here, jumping there, jumping here, jumping here. That's his business. But the truth of the matter is that we must understand that political parties are vehicles not just for the next election. They are also vehicles to continue the ideological deepening of the directive principles of politics in your country. That's why you have the Republican and the Democrat. When they lose, they have the patience to wait. When they win, they have the patience to engage. But you see what has become of us. And the reason why I blame Obasanjo for this is that had he not taken possession and insisted that president is the leader of the party, never mind that the president lied on the ground before some people to get their ticket, the governor is the leader of the party, never mind that the governor ran to some leaders before he got their ticket, maybe we would have been able to build a collegiate of leaders, and it wouldn't have been easy for political party to resemble the personality of whoever the governor is or whoever the president is. But hey, you see, there's no one style of democracy in the world. Democracy will produce the characterization of nations. And maybe the Nigerian characterization of democracy now is at this stage. That's why I said, all things being equal, in the next couple of months, 1 year plus, an election will be done. Once that election will be done, an outcome will be reached. If we follow the rule of just numbers, not the rule of science, because the rule of numbers will tell you, oh, APC will win.
Democracy is the rule of numbers.
No. That's the limit you know.
That's democracy. That's something different.
Listen, that's the limit you know.
Okay.
Beneath that big conversation, the rule of numbers, there's something also called the science of numbers. The rule of numbers will tell you that, okay, the president has 30-something governors. That's what you will call the rule of numbers. But the rule of science is, what about the demography of the base? What about the people who turn up on the day of the election? These things are more complicated than that. So let me continue my thought. The rule of numbers may tell you that, oh, the president is going to win. But science may say otherwise. But whether science and numbers align, the reality is that after the 2027 election, everybody that is in the political process potentially, and those that are there now, those that will be retired, are going to come to a screeching conclusion. Okay. Can we continue like that? And that is if the APC itself does not implode.
Okay, we're talking about opposition politics.
Yes.
And I mentioned Peter Obi. He's not the only opposition leader.
Yeah,
because I want to bring up a question. Yeah. We also have several other opposition leaders. We have Atiku Abubakar, we have Kwankwan. So we have so many of them like that are opposition leaders. Now, the various parties they belong, some of them have defected. Some of their parties are in crisis. And some persons are asking that if you are asking that you want to fix the challenge of a nation that is diverse, that is multicultural, that is multi-religious, and you say you have capacity to fix it, but you've not found capacity to fix your own party, you're so quick to jump ship. How are you going to fix that nation if you're given that opportunity, if you cannot deal with the dissent views in your party? What does that speak of the capacity of opposition?
There's something called if and only if in mathematics or epistemology. You are talking about an if. You have not put the only if, which is, if you look at the question from this angle, you have to look at it back again from the other angle. The question that is on the table really is, why is post-2023 so different? Why is post-2023 so different? Even when Buhari was president here, did you have a situation where everybody was...
We've always had realignment of forces.
Just listen now.
I'm just trying to chip that in.
Individual politicians can move, but you don't have the excessive destabilization of political party on this scale. Because almost all the political parties, and all of ADC has that issue, PDP has that issue, Labour has that issue, NMPP have that issue. Can you not see a pattern that is worrisome? Now, leave that. The next question that this your question leads to is, what then is the end game? Is the end game an idea that every other political party will be so destabilized by hopping and shopping and only the party of the president will be well? Let me tell you the danger in that. The danger in that is that even in that party of the president, that is the APC, there are too many people who are going to be contending for just one position.
Exactly.
And in that concept, you are going to now see the sense in having healthy parties, because some of them could have gone to other parties to try their luck, and then the electorate would have taken the verdict. But by creating it this way, you force all that energy to stay in that one place with limit. I mean, think about it. A political party, people ask me, Shagun, why have you not jumped to APC? I used to tell them it's a scary party. And what do I mean? A political party that can look its own national secretary straight in the face, former deputy governor, two-time senator, secretary that cleared the president and the others, and look him straight in the face and say that he cannot be cleared for a primaries of a governorship in Osun. I'm talking about Mishori. That's scary. Because if Mishori cannot meet the court of clearance in a party where he's national secretary, then who can? So the point I'm making is that when you ask this question, I try to be conceptual, that I might stimulate your audience, not just you and I, to think along this path. And that's why I created the alternative.
Okay, we'll get to the alternative. And the other question is,
yes,
there is still room for
a repair.
Coalition. Because ahead of 2019, the parties then felt that, look, we cannot take on the PDP. And the legacy parties decided to come together, and APC was birthed in 2018 to contest before the 2019 election. Why is it difficult to have these opposition parties now saying, look, can they go solo in 2027 or to form a coalition? Is it because of it must be me of the various gladiators that is making it difficult to come together?
I think that, first of all, you must consider the playbook of coalition political party belongs to Ashad Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Muhammadu Buhari in that block. I don't mean them as individuals, I mean them within their block. And that they bring one thing to the table at that point, which is stability of ideological situations. He has always been an AC man, which is the same party, and Buhari has always been an ANPP, blah, blah, blah. So to that extent, when they wanted to do a coalition, they could literally imagine themselves to be from the same material, only joining together political numbers. The challenge with these people is that, number one, those who want to do coalition now are a cheap, fake, set of humans who don't understand that you have to rewrite the book. You can't run on the playbook of Bola Tinubu and Buhari, which they invented, and think you're going to beat them at a game they invented. Number one, you've not read enough. Number two, you don't know how much energy it takes. I have to go get a file as big as this and a book as big as this just to understudy how they were able to create their coalition. And it's not very easy. The first time they tried it was 2011. They couldn't even achieve it. Everybody went back to Otento Israel. And they had to make a lot of sacrifices to be able to achieve it in 2015, including relinquishing the parties that they previously owned and then attracting others. So now, if you watch what the people who are calling coalition, they don't want to do the heavy lifting. The hard work of coalition building is going back to the parties themselves at the base. And ensuring that we
not
build...
as individuals.
No. You can't go and you can't look at the EDC, for instance. They hop onto a party that has been existing for some time. They pay and try to grab it at the top without looking at the constitutional requirement that if you are changing chairman, he must come from the same group. Then they start running into the crisis
because of time. Because of
next
time.
time, make 1 hour.
No, we're not. We're not.
Because those are the important things.
Yes, exactly. And that brings me to what I asked earlier.
Which
that
is?
Rather than looking at the other house, that probably this is the reason why we have problems.
Why can't they fix themselves?
Why can't they fix themselves?
Attitude
you have just brought out that aspect.
Attitude are difficult to drop. I've always said, human beings, you and I, we are all creatures of habits. And our habits create patterns. Take the case of the country now. Anybody who blames a Southerner from joining Bola Tinubu is just being mean. It is clear that for us to be able to stabilize this country democratically, we have to respect the principle of the pendulum. If it goes to the north, they got 8 years, they can bring us characters, materials, and then we'll look at it. And if it swings to the south, we take that 8 years. You know why? Because the demography is not balanced. So if you have an imbalanced demography, the only way you can introduce some level of stability and predictability to it is for you to swing.
If you are to be in charge and you have the opportunity to woo people to join your party, will you decline? And if they want to join your party, will you decline?
No. You see, you can't stop people from joining a party. People joining the party is not really the issue. The issue here is that there is an uncanny unease as to why everybody...
Allegedly.
I've not even said anything. I already said allegedly.
You said that uncanny.
I said uncanny unease that suggests that all the other opposition parties, never mind that people have left. Our issues in the opposition parties is not that people are leaving. The issue is the level of manipulations going on in the courts. We have seen situations where they are giving alternative judgments on the same issues. We have seen situations where a court that ordinarily should know it has no jurisdiction on some issue take jurisdiction. And so you have a medley of court cases all over the place. And anybody who is leading a country, especially at this time with all of the geopolitics, the American play, what's going on in the world, he has to come to a point where he's going to ask himself that, okay, what are we really building here? Are we building a country in my personal image, or are we building a country that is robust enough that accommodate diverse? You know why? Because the country itself is diverse. Nations that have only one language find a way of accommodating other parties. How much more a nation that has about 320 languages, different culture, different tribes? How are you going to hold them all in one place? Well, implosions will happen. The only thing is that formally, when one party wants to implode, there usually was another place where to implode. Unfortunately, now you have what you call...
You have the PDP, you have the Labour Party.
No. If they are in courts, unless the judge of the...
So probably the leaders should drop their court cases.
No.
Maybe Abure should not go to court.
Unless the president of the Court of Appeal recognizes the secret responsibility of a court being an instrument of legislative interference at certain levels and brings these cases quickly, so they can just say, okay, this is the position. I don't care who wins or who loses. And when you rest the position, then they can go and start building.
It's always a delight to have a conversation.
But please tell your man, nobody is such a strategist that others cannot strategize and defeat him.
I think the bottom line is everyone should put their house in order, because an election is to be contested and everybody wants to win.
The bottom line is that democracy was working before 2023
and democracy will continue to work. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts.
Totally my pleasure.
That is all that we can take on this edition of FCT Brief.
I think we should make this program 1 hour. So we can do more.
We'll think about that.